Hey friend, Chris here from Logic Pro Rules. It was only January of this year that Apple dropped the latest major versions of Logic Pro for Mac 12 and Logic Pro for iPad 3. And here we are 5 months later, and Apple has just released the latest updates of Logic Pro for Mac 12.3 and Logic Pro for iPad 3.3. And this set of updates brings with it brand new features and enhancements that I think are going to appeal to a lot of users. This includes enhancements to Beat Breaker, Smart Tempo, the Granular synthesis engine of Alchemy, plus a brand new Granular Alchemy sound pack and Kehlani demo project. Of course, this set of updates is free for both perpetual license owners of Logic Pro for Mac, as well as those subscribing to Apple Creator Studio. And before we dig in, of course, make sure to back up your version of Logic Pro before you update. And I'll include a link to an Apple support document to help you out with those steps down below in the description. All right, let's dig into it. In light of all these headline features that I just told you about, the first new feature of Logic Pro for Mac 12.3 I want to show you is my favorite feature, which perhaps you can see on my screen already. If not, let me zoom in. My favorite new feature of this update is the fact that grid lines can now be seen on top of or through the regions in your projects. And if I zoom in, we get further grid lines for each beat. And this can be seen through audio regions, as well as MIDI. And if I collapse all the track stacks here, you can see those grid lines through the track stack regions. Same thing for flex and automation. So if I enable automation view, look at that, perfect. So now if you want to write automation specifically to the grid, you can, just by lining it up. Plus, there are settings for customizing the view of the grid in your projects by heading up to the top menu bar, to Logic Pro, down to Settings, of course, to View. And under the Tracks tab in the View settings are new options to customize the grid lines. Previously, we had the option to customize the color, either by just going with the default or automatic, or by disabling automatic, you could choose between white or black grid lines, both for the horizontal and vertical lines, as well as choose how bold or light those lines are. So if you need these grid lines to be obvious as you're working in Logic Pro, customize it to your heart's content. And as I zoom in, we see more of those lines, which is perfect. So if I want to, chop up and move a drum hit, I'll be able to clearly see where I'm placing the drum hit relative to the grid. But of course, if you're not that into these grid lines, the new option for placement allows you to choose the grid lines either in the foreground or background, which is Logic Pro as you've always known it. Personally, I'm going to leave this set to foreground and automatic. This is just perfect for my needs and workflow. Now, the project on screen is a brand new demo project that now comes with Logic Pro from R&B artist Kehlani featuring Usher. To preview and download any demo project or sound pack that comes with Logic Pro, you just go right up to the top menu bar, to Logic Pro, down to Sound Library. And right at the top, you can see the demo project from Kehlani, Shoulda Never, which also can be found under the artist and producer packs. This is something I love about Logic Pro. I don't know of any other DAW on the market that provides full-on sessions for major recording artists for us Logic users to explore and learn from. I love being able to explore these aspects of the arrangement, like the vocals individually, to how the drums or programs are played. There are massive stacks of brass and strings. It's just amazing. You get to see the inner workings of a high-level, high-profile production that comes with Logic Pro. It's just incredible. Beat Breaker has also seen enhancements. It's an amazing tool for reimagining the parts of your songs, as well as injecting a bit of creative serendipity into the creative process, based on time, repeats, and volume. But now there are 3 other modes in Beat Breaker: cutoff, resonance, and panning. Let me demonstrate this to you right now. With cutoff, you can literally adjust the cutoff of a filter in real time. In addition, you can adjust the slope of each cutoff filter. So let me play with the slope in this direction perhaps, and we'll slide it up. Same thing. And we'll bring this guy down. And let's adjust this as well in the other direction. So I'll bring it down. You can adjust the cutoff using the cutoff parameter, the slope using the slope parameter, and you can even adjust the curve of each of these filters so they can kind of sweep in and out or just have a more gradual or aggressive curve. You can also hold command and drag to the left or to the right for each beep to adjust the curve. Plus, you can adjust the filter type either as a low pass or high pass. After that, we have resonance. And obviously, as you would imagine, you can adjust the resonance relative to the high pass or low pass filter. Plus, there's pan, which you can, on a per beat basis, pan your sound, hard left, hard right, or anywhere in between. And you can even adjust the slope so you have more of a sloping fashion across the stereo field. So now Beatbreaker is doing so much more beyond rearranging the parts in real time, adding repeats in real time, and adjusting the volume by adding these 3 other modes, allowing you to completely reimagine parts in just about every direction. Plus, there's now a new random button in Beatbreaker, allowing you to either randomize the current mode or multiple modes. So let's try the current mode with pan. And if we try cutoff, and if you control click or right click on the random button, you can also edit the current mode. So this allows you to adjust the amount of probability for the filter mode, probability and intensity for the cutoff, the slope, and the curve. And if you choose multiple modes, you can make these adjustments for each mode. So we could say, hey, maybe for repeats, I want a probability of, a very small amount, maybe like 10%. And you can introduce or leave out the individual beats or steps in the sequence. The granular synthesis modules in Alchemy and Sample Alchemy now provide a new sync mode that lets you adjust the formants of generated grains and add parallel grain streams to create even more sonic timbres and textures. And to usher in these updates for Alchemy and Sample Alchemy is the brand new Granular Alchemy Sound Pack. The Granular Alchemy Synth Pack is available for both Logic Pro for Mac and Logic Pro for iPad, while the new sync mode is available for Alchemy and Sample Alchemy on Logic Pro for Mac and Sample Alchemy in Logic Pro for iPad. There's support for the Granular engine changes on Logic Pro for iPad, however, the UI doesn't allow direct access. Right now in this empty project, I've loaded an audio recording of a drum fill that I recorded last night. And I'd like this drum fill to be the basis of my granular synth instrument in Alchemy. I'll go ahead and initialize the preset, so I'm starting from a blank slate here in Alchemy. From here, I'm just going to drag and drop this drum fill right onto the granular tab of Source A. Now I can dig right in and start playing with the sound of these drums using parameters like size and density, random time, random pan, as well as taps. But let me just play a couple keys on my MIDI keyboard so you can hear what I have out of the gate. Okay, so the granular synth engine is not new in Alchemy or Sample Alchemy, but what is new is sync mode. When you switch from classic mode to sync mode, the size and density controls are replaced with form and shift. Let's hear what form and shift does. Do you notice how the drum loop is taking on more of a pitched quality in sync mode? Let me play with some of the other parameters like number of taps. What's also cool is that you can play with the sample speed and sample tempo. As well as the playback position. So it still kind of feels like a drum kit, just a really down-tuned kit. Let me now add some effects like reverb and delay. All right, that's pretty cool. The last thing I'm going to do is modulate the form and shift parameter. So I'll turn on the modulation and set it to the LFO. And I'll increase the depth. You can see the orange ring here over form and shift. Let me drag this up as I play. And now we're getting into some crazy sound design territory, which is so much more creative opportunity for your music. There also have been enhancements to smart tempo and flex, both in terms of the quality and the way that they work, as well as just the clarity of when you're using each of these modes. For example, I want to bring in this drum recording into this Mark Ronson Watch the Sound project, but I want the drum recording to match the tempo of the project. So of course, I would go to the Smart Tempo settings in the LCD, or go to File, Project Settings, Smart Tempo. And under this section, right about halfway down, for the Smart Tempo settings is now Defaults for Flex and Smart Tempo region settings. And I can set new recordings or imported files to either flex off, flex on, but smart tempo off, flex on, smart tempo on, flex on, smart tempo on, and align bars and beats. So I'm going to set the imported file for flex on and smart tempo on for align bars and beats. So this is important. There's a distinction between flex and smart tempo. Let me now bring in this drum recording. And right there, my drum recording has matched the tempo of the project. If we take a listen. And if you're not quite sure what's going on there, let me bring in the click. And it lines right up. Let's bring in this fill towards the end. So maybe right about there. Perfect, and it lines up great. And let me now open the region inspector to show you that there's now a separate control for flex and a separate control for smart tempo. Showing flex mode in the tracks area, we can see flex is enabled. And you can also see that smart tempo is set to align bars and beats. I can turn flex off, which turns off the time stretching for the fill to match the project tempo. So if we hear it now, doesn't match up with the project tempo at all. But I can also turn off smart tempo. So I can still flex this region. I can dig in there and start playing with the timing of the fill. And I can stretch the fill. So flex is enabled, it's in action, while smart tempo is specifically for the purpose of conforming files and regions to the project tempo. Even better, Logic Pro for Mac now shows in the region inspector the analyze file tempo. So now I can see that the file tempo for my recording is 67.5 BPM. So let's back this up a hair. I'll turn Smart Tempo back on, and I'll adjust the file tempo to 135 beats per minute, or double the time. Let me line this back up with that key moment. That's pretty cool. Let's now back it up and go in the other direction. Man, that'd be awesome right there. What I love is previously we had flex and follow, which was this combination of both flex and smart tempo under one parameter. For a lot of folks, it was confusing. But now there's a very clear difference when flex is enabled or disabled versus when smart tempo is enabled or disabled. Plus, in the Smart Tempo Editor is a new button called Is a Loop, which allows you to let Logic Pro know in the Smart Tempo Editor when you're working with the tempo specifically of a loop. These improvements of Flex and Smart Tempo will result in better results from these facilities as you drag loops in and as you make flex edits. The analysis process just continues to get better, which in turn means better sounding time stretching as well as more reliable Smart Tempo results. Of course, these are just the headline features for these updates, and there's going to be so much more in terms of enhancements and bug fixes, and I highly recommend that you take a look at the release notes that Apple provides every time Logic Pro is updated. I'll include a link in the description below for the release notes, and that's going to walk you through everything that has been improved, enhanced, and fixed. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you later.